Isn't it just relentless?
Yeah, David's just walked in, and I was just talking to Catherine on the Southern Cross, actually, just for those who are also up early. They left yesterday from Mumia. Actually, I think Saltheart did too, maybe others. They had a pretty lively start going through Dumbia yesterday afternoon. They had 10 knots of southerlies. They did have a squall overnight, close to midnight, but the sea has settled down now. 2 to 3 metres it was at the pass, but still pretty lively. But the wind is southeast now, 15 to 20. So it looks like it'll be a good day of sailing anyway, if not for making delicate things in the galley. So there you are.
You should have good weather.
Yep, David's still saying that you should have a good trip, Catherine. Roger that. All right, folks, I have in fact turned the streaming on because it seems to be really, oh, it's still not coming up. Just stand by. I'm going to have a look here.
Yep.
It's slowly deciding to oh, it's still not going. Goodness gracious me. Well, I tell you what, I better have another look. No, it's not moving. Well, I've got messages coming through, so it must be. I'll just ignore the thing that says offline. Live stream offline. How really weird. All right. I will just hope that I will get a message to say one way or the other. And I do see that there is drizzle in Port Vila. Good morning, everybody. This is Gulf Harbour Radio, ZMH286. It is cold. That's why we're in a bit of a frizzle here, because it is 11 degrees. Honestly, you wouldn't believe it, would you? It seems to be going the opposite direction to what it should be in spring. 1017.6, slowly rising on the bar, 7 knots from the southwest. So it's just not a very pleasant morning here. But anyway, we hope that it is good with you guys. I was just talking to the Southern Cross on their way from Noumea to Southport in Australia's Queensland, and they've got some good winds, so they're making good progress. 9 knots it was. Wow, good show. That will certainly get them a good start. Actually, it's interesting, people coming, I don't know why you'd want to come to New Zealand with 11 degrees, but anyway, it's there were a few people that have corresponded to say that they are going to be coming early. Don't forget, folks, that if you come early, you will have your 6 months up before you probably want it to be up. That's unless you're going to depart somewhere home, and that will be take care of that one. But anyway, you will just pay attention to the fact that you get 6 months when you come to New Zealand, and then you have to go about getting an extension and pay money and so on and so forth. So there you are. All right, so despite the fact that it says streaming offline, I've got a couple of messages in. Thank you, Ray. Up at Somo Bay, working well, so that's good. And up there it's 10 knots. This is in Fiji. East-northeast, 70% cloud cover. And needless to say, Andrew says there's no radio in Port Vila. It's a pretty noisy spot, isn't it? Thank you for telling us. Moses, I keep forgetting his name. The fellow, boy, Lamara and Moses have been there for a very long time. It's almost like coming home when you go into Port Vila. All right, let's have a bit of news. David will, of course, be doing his usual thing in 15 minutes. A bit of news for you. The folk from America will be interested in the election results in North Carolina. It was looking to be a very close call. They had a re-election because the last one that they had, quote, credible allegations of fraud. So they've redone it, and the Republican Dan Bishop has in fact won it, much to the relief of Mr. Trump, I'm sure. 2% difference between them, so there's not a lot in it. But anyway, he has won, and that was the main thing. Going on to the Asian area, the air quality in Singapore and Kuala Lumpur is again pretty grim. We happened to be there one year when they had the fires burning the palm oil trees in Malaysia, but boy, it can get pretty dreadful. But this is the forest fires in the Indonesian island of Sumatra, and smoke has blown across the Straits of Malacca with the prevailing wind, and they now have a level 3 alert. It's pretty bad actually when you look at the pictures. Everyone's around with masks on, and it just looks pretty bad. They have a level 3 only after 3 days of conditions like that, so it's been around for a bit. Okay, there's actually going to be quite a few country elections over the next month or two, but Israel goes to the polls next week. Mr. Netanyahu is, he's in a tight spot there, and he's really inflamed things. He has promised to annex the Jordan Valley in the occupied West Bank if he wins. Needless to say, that has drawn very widespread criticism from the UN through the Arab states. They're trying to get some sort of peace accord between Israel and the Palestinians. They have, in this Jordan Valley, which was won, if you like, by Israel in the 5-day war, the 6-day war, can't remember, against Jordan, 6-day war. That was over 50 years ago. It's hard to believe, isn't it?
Is that right?
Yeah. It doesn't seem that long ago, but anyway, in the valley, 65,000 Palestinians live, plus 11,000 illegal Israeli settlers are there. They're living currently under Israeli military control, but he's decided, Mr. Netanyahu, that if he wins the election, he is going to make it part of Israel. So there you are. That will be a death blow to any sort of peace in the Middle East, which I suppose we're getting used to, the tensions there. Talking about tensions, the Pacific Ocean has become a little bit more tense, which is of more interest to us, of course. The USS Gabriel Giffords left San Diego earlier in the month, quite secretly. No one knows exactly where it is at the moment, but it's carrying the US Navy's new Naval Strike Missile, plus a drone helicopter that helps aim it. Now, the Third Fleet intends, finally, challenging Beijing's activities in the area. Since about 2015, they have militarized the reclaimed shoals and reefs in the South China Sea, wanting to lay claim to the entire area there. So finally, the US is going to do something about it. The Gabriel Giffords is the first of these littoral combat ships to have this weapon. They have a draft of about 15 feet or less and are specifically designed for the shallower waters around coastlines and islands, and about more than 30 of them are planned. And they're all planned to have this new weapon, which is a pretty stunning weapon in terms of its accuracy and ability to penetrate things. So that's actually quite good news as far as we're concerned. It's just a little bit late in coming, but better late than never. All right, we do know we have Swedish cruises out there, and just in case you have, competitions of, you need to know things about your country, you have a new highest peak. The glacier-covered southern peak of Kebnekaise. Now, I know I've pronounced that wrong, but anyway, you'll probably know what I'm talking about because it was your highest peak, but it is now 1.2 meters below the northern peak due to ice melt of the glacier. So there you have it, a bit of trivia for you. Talking about cruises, I would like to say a special hello to the Armenian family, which are currently in Tonga. I got an email from Kostya, who runs a Cruisersat, and because he knew I had been in Armenia last month. He commented on the fact that he had met an Armenian family in Tonga. I've never seen a boat with an Armenian flag, so I hope you're coming to New Zealand. Armenia is a really, really interesting country, and I had a fantastic trip there. It has been around as a country since 782 BC, so it has been around a long time. And in fact, the capital, Yerevan, is actually 29 years older than Rome. But of course, the people have been living in the area for even longer than that because it sort of was on the Silk Road. In fact, in the History Museum in Yerevan, they have a 5,000-year-old shoe. It's not just a sort of a cloggy thing, it's a real proper shoe, leather and laces and so on. Armenia adopted Christianity as their national religion in 301 AD. And in fact, they were the ones that built the first Christian temple in the world. I actually wonder why the centre of Christianity is not there rather than in Rome. Evidently at the time, 300 odd AD, they had a choice between the Turks and the Romans, who were both been a problem. So they weren't keen on either of them, so chose to go with the new Christianity. Needless to say, I saw lots of monasteries, which were not all that easy to get to when you're wearing a moon boot. But I was also interested in, and this is for the people that like wine, they have a grape called the Arini Noir grape. Now that's been growing in Armenia for over 6,000 years, and it is in fact the ancestor of the Pinot Noir grape, and it's reasonably similar, of a very, very good Pinot Noir, not some of these sort of diluted things that we get here, but a very, very good Pinot Noir. It's very, very similar, except it's a little bit more fruity. It's grown quite high up, 1,400 metres, and they mature the crushed grapes in amphoras, which they bury in the ground, all together, the grape and everything together. I actually tasted the wine made like this in Georgia. But boy, Armenia, you can live rather well. They have the most beautiful breads. I really miss some of the breads that they make. A lot of flattish type breads, some with nuts and almond type mixture. And the fruit, of course, I was there in August, and the fruits were absolutely lovely. And it was just like the very old days in New Zealand. Along the roads, all the peasants had fantastic stands of fruit, but also preserves and jams and all the rest of it. Some of you are probably wondering where on earth Armenia is, but well, let's start with Russia. You know where Moscow is. Well, if you go directly south from Moscow, you'll come across, if you go over the Caucasian mountains, you'll come across Georgia. So Georgia is actually the northern neighbour of Armenia. To the west is Turkey. To the east is Azerbaijan, which borders the Caspian Sea, and to the south is Iran. Armenia used to be very much bigger than it is, but unfortunately Turkey has been rather violent over the centuries, not too long distant past actually, taking land and massacring people. The Turks, I think, want to have an extension of Muslim countries from Turkey right through to China, and unfortunately Armenia is thwarting that, which actually gives Armenia some interesting bedfellows. They get protection from the Turks from Russians, of all people. In fact, Russia troops guarding the border between Turkey and Armenia. The Mount Ararat is now actually in Turkey, so the Russian troops are on that border. But yeah, absolutely wonderful country. So a very big welcome to the Pacific to the Armenian family, who I believe are in Tonga. I better get a move on here. I diverted a little bit. The Apple iPhone 2 has been launched, a bit of a ho-hum sort of thing, but I thought I'd better tell you about it. Not all that different, really. More money, of course. It has an ultra-wide rear camera, offering a ×2 optical zoom out, so there's sort of little 3 lenses on the back of it now. The Pro model lasts 4 hours longer than before. They also launched the Series 5 watch. Apple actually had 49% of the global smartwatch market, but the only thing that I saw of interest in the new watch is that it now has an always-on display. I always thought that was a bit stupid the way it went off. I know it made it last longer, but sometimes, when you're sitting in a boring meeting and you just turn your hand to see what the time is, you don't want to have to make an issue out of shaking your hand to see what the time is. So that would be quite a good feature, I think. Okay, David's just chuckling here. You are remembering having to sit in boring meetings. The latest real good news, though, well, it's not good news, but it's a stunning bit of news. Hong Kong has just made a surprise $37 billion bid for the London Stock Exchange. That's kind of interesting because, as you know, Hong Kong have got major problems socially there at the moment with the China connection, and of course the UK has major problems with the Brexit, etc., things that are going on. So this may be a ploy to take people's mind off the problems in both places and put it on something else. But it will never happen. I hope it will never happen. I can't imagine the UK would let their stock exchange go for $37 billion, but who knows? Yeah, to the Chinese. Well, we'll just finish on a really nice note, really. Yesterday, over 200 New Zealand firemen climbed up the Sky Tower. That's our highest building in New Zealand. It's in Auckland. To remember the 343 New York Fire Department staff who were killed in 9/11. That's an amazing number, isn't it? 343. Plus about 59 New Zealand firefighters who have lost their lives over the years. And they climbed up, all of them taking the name of one of them up to the top there. So that was a nice way of giving a good memory to those people who lost their lives, helping others. All right, that's about it I've got here. I'm just checking. I haven't actually gone on to Cruiser Satnet to see who's doing what for you, but I'm sure I'll have a look while David's talking. Name changes. I should call it Following Sea. Whisper are at Port General, 8 knots from the easterly, 90% cloud cover, 26 degrees, so it's a bit warmer there. They had rain overnight at Bunda. Thank you, Sussex Strike, and that's about it from me. So I'm going to pass the microphone now and we'll see what's going on in the Pacific. Here's David.
Wow, that's a lot of news there. Very, very interesting. And good morning to everyone out there. And, well, of note today is, I'm going to talk about our jet stream again. It's actually conforming to the shape of the 500 millibar trough that sits below it. Ordinarily, it will partly follow these troughs, but this time it's doing almost an exact duplicate with what's below it. In other words, it's become cyclonic, and the upflow area is right smack dab over New Caledonia this morning. And this is reflected, of course, in the trough activity over New Cal, Loyalties, and that extends to Vanuatu as well. And looking at the surface charts early this morning, the old New Zealand depression, that's well to the east now, while the Oz high, the Australian high, continues to build its ridge into the Tasman. And I would say between now and next Tuesday, Wednesday time frame, thereabouts, those wanting passage to from Newcal actually to Australia, and now we've got 3 boats at least that are doing that. You're going to be in pretty good shape. It's going to be fairly breezy to begin with on this trip, 20 knot winds and so forth. Those of you that are arriving north of 25 are going to have a pretty mellow arrival. A little bit more wind south of 25. Those that want to go down to Southport might be northerlies, 20-25 knots on arrival. But that's sort of a dividing line there. Anyway, the island groups today will be a bit damp, and that's thanks to the trough activity that we're seeing. By Monday, the Australian high should reside in the mid-Tasman, and that will be bringing south to southeast winds pretty much to the groups. And by the way, the winds from the equator down to 10 south will have a westerly vector. In other words, east to northeast winds, and this is going to support ENSO neutral conditions. Now, those newbies that are coming from French Polynesia to Tonga, newbies in the sense that may be new to this area. So those of you that are coming from there to, say, Tonga, should enjoy some pretty nice easterly quadrant winds, give or take on the direction, but winds from the right direction for that trip. And that's pretty good news for all of you doing that. Although a trip directly to New Zealand, some have inquired about doing that. Probably not on, as we've got southwest winds that I think will put pay to that at this time. In any case, not a good idea now, in other words. That could change. Now, up in the tropics, not too much has changed with our moist, unstable air up there. The Solomon's Trough, and that associated disturbance is still there, still twirling around over the Solomons. No fear at the moment of it turning into a tropical depression, but it still is swirling and bringing some pretty bad weather up there. But that trough runs to the Santa Cruz Islands like yesterday, clips through Vanuatu, and then a beeline to Fiji and Tonga. The second trough that I see up there runs from Tuvalu to Samoa, and the third one that I could locate goes from Tokelau to the northern Cook. So quite a bit of convective activity up in the tropical areas. And looking specifically at Tonga on satellite imagery this morning, we can see the trough affecting mostly the Hapais down to Tongatapu. Cloud, believe it or not, extends all the way to Minerva Reef. So it's a very, very broad system. But oddly enough, Vavau looks pretty good. It's on the northern fringe of this trough. So the weather is not too bad in Vavau. That could change. The trough could decide to lift up again. But at the moment, that's what it looks like. So airport data early this morning. These are actuals now from the METARs at these airports. Report Vavau to be calm, scattered, and barometer 1015. The Hapais variable 2 knots, nothing there to speak of. I would say overcast skies, pretty much broken to overcast. Just looking very closely at the imagery. The barometer 1015. And anyone down in Tongatapu, I don't think we have anyone down there, but easterlies down there, about 5 knots, shifting to the south. So probably as I'm speaking, I would say they'd be southerlies by now. And skies scattered to broken, barometer 1017. So a little bit of a gradient, although not much wind. By lunch today, I think for Vavau and the Hapais, we're looking at east to east-northeast in the 10 knot range. Might be a little bit more. Tomorrow, east to east-southeast, about 15, getting up there just a little bit. Over to Fiji, enjoying the trough. Almost a regular feature this season. Hasn't been a particularly great season, I would say, compared to all the ones we've been looking at over the years. But anyway, satellite imagery shows that the trough certainly has dropped south quite a bit from yesterday, to the point where Vanua Levu, all the way over to Taveuni, shows breaks, quite a few breaks. So not bad for the moment, fairly clear up there. Even northern Lao is showing breaks in this, but the rest of Fiji to the south of there is under trough conditions. Winds pretty light, east to southeast, 10 to 15, poor visibility in the areas of the showers, and there are thunderstorms about. So gusts from thunderstorms could easily be 30, 35 knots. And if you are unlucky enough to be under one of those, be very careful for the wind shifts that we talk about with thunderstorms. Tomorrow, a bit more wind, southeast 15 to 20, and probably fewer showers tomorrow. It depends what that trough really decides to do, unless you happen to be very unlucky and happen to be under what cloud is left. Now, at about 6:30 this morning, local time, radar, and this time it is the correct time for the radar scans. I was discussed it the other day. But anyway, it's showing scattered showers all about the group, really, quite heavy between Beatty Levu to Kindavu, all the way over to the southern Lao. So that, of course, is where the main part of the trough is, and that's living up to its name. Quite a bit of showers there. I'll give you some actuals this morning, and again, these come from airport conditions and or Stevenson screens that the Met Service will put out. But undew point, southeast 18, 10:15 on the barometer. Yasawa, Irawa, up there in the Yasawas, east-southeast 14 and 10:14 on the barometer. Vanua Balabu, up in the northern Laos, southeast 10, 10:19. And Nandi, east 5, 10:15 millibar. And Nassori, on the other side, northwest 2 and 10:16 on the barometer. And Matuku, down there in the western southern Lao, I guess we'd call it, southeast 7 and barometer 1016. Now, Vanuatu, moving there on imagery, does show trough cloud covering the chain. Not too bad up at the banks. Usually it's the banks that get hammered a bit, but not this time. The banks actually look pretty good. But the rest of Vanuatu does show cloudy spots, quite a bit of cloud, really. So you could expect that pretty much for today, cloudy periods up and down the group, and of course associated showers with that. The key areas, Luganville, Port Vila, and Lenikai, showers to rain in all three of those areas, I think, today. The winds look to be south to southeast over the northern and the central areas of Vanuatu, getting up to 20 to 25 knots. In the south, though, less wind, 15 to 20. Seas about 2 to 2.5 meters out there, and the weather is going to be about the same tomorrow. Over to New Caledonia, the trough has slid back down over the Loyalties, and cloud does reach Grand Terre. The low cloud, and actually mid to low cloud, is moving northwest to southeast between Grand Terre and the Loyalties, but the complete opposite direction over our Lagoon area, blowing southeast to northwest. So quite a bit of a difference. This analysis I made was at 6 a.m., and that can change, of course. By lunch in the lagoon, I would expect southeast winds 20 knots. Pretty good bit of breeze there. Partly cloudy with a pretty good chance of showers. And tomorrow, southeast, maybe the 10-knot range should drop a little bit by tomorrow. I hope so. And here are some actual conditions for you. The outer reef, southeast 25. Don't want to be out there. Ile de Pan, southeast 10 to 15. And Noumea, that's getting up there. They're gusting southeast 25 in the outskirts of Noumea there. So that's your weather for today and tomorrow. And if anybody has any comments, you can come now.
I was just having a quick look at things. There is a boat, Brave, up in Seoul. I'm not sure whether Brave has a radio on board. They're a family from Picton. So good morning to you if you are listening up there, checking out the alligator that's still there. And Bellick have reported from a place called Suni Bay. It actually sounds rather nice. Southeast 7 to 10 up there, 10% altitude. Not much in the sea. It's a pretty protected spot. But they are getting a bit of soot as well because of the cane fields burning. This is a problem in Fiji at this time of the year. Can make a bit of a mess of the boat, can't it? All right, is there anybody with anything? Oh, that's right. Citrus tart reported from Nanoira. Always get that tongue twisted. Clear and sunny, 15 knots. Going kiting. Well, sounds like a pretty good day up there. You wouldn't be going kiting in 11-degree temperatures here, that's for sure. Okay, folks, is there anybody with anything that we haven't covered? Please call now. The sounds of silence. All right, folks, we will, of course, be back. Oh, it's Thursday today, so one more day tomorrow. And Prony, I just discovered that one. From Mr. Troy, southwest 15, Towering Q, some showers, 19 degrees, 1018. Oh, I bet they're not going to go kiting. All right, cheers everybody, and we will be back again tomorrow. The frequency is all yours.
Somewhere in that new round.
I know, we'll have to look it up. A lot of people go there. Nanoira. Let's see if I can find it on here in terms of the. I can't remember whether that Brave, it's a catamaran, so it could well not have a radio.